Hello, welcome to today's event, Masterclass with Larry Brownlee. My name is Veronica Chapman-Smith. I am the Director of Community Initiatives for Opera Philadelphia. We are very excited for today's event, which is a collaboration between Delaware State University and Opera Philadelphia. Today, we have two wonderful musicians who will have the opportunity to work with tenor Larry Brownlee. Mr. Brownlee is a world-renowned musician, singing on stages like the Met, La Scala, Covent Garden, and at Opera Philadelphia. Mr. Brownlee is a passionate advocate for diversity initiatives, and it serves as Opera Philadelphia's artistic advisor. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. It's nice to be here with you.
Yeah, it's great to see your face.
Thank you
very much.
Likewise.
Time to hang out with us and to work with these students. Thank you.
Happy to do it.
As I mentioned, this is a collaboration between Delaware State University and Opera Philadelphia. I personally have had the good fortune of working with this next person, Dr. Derek Thompson. Dr. Thompson serves as the Director of Choral Activities and Visiting Assistant Professor of Music at Delaware State University. Dr. Thompson is a wonderful musician as well as in the world of singing and conducting. Welcome, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Veronica.
It's great to see your face, my friend.
Great to see all of you as well.
I just want to remind everybody that we are on the platform of YouTube Live, and we are able to engage in the chat function. You can cheer on our singers, give them lots of love, as well as drop down some questions or comments that you might have that we can get to towards the end of this event. Thank you very much all for coming. I'm going to turn it over to you, Derek.
Wonderful. It's going to be a great day here. So the first student we have up to perform this afternoon is Howard Evans, Jr. Howard is a senior music student with a concentration in voice. He is a tenor and participates in the university choir and chamber singers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Howard Evans, Jr.
I am Howard Evans, Jr., and I will be singing Then Shall the Righteous Shine Forth from Felix Mendelssohn's Elijah. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. Shine forth as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. Then shall the righteous shine forth in the heavenly Father's realm as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. Joy on thy head shall be for everlasting. Joy on thy head shall be for everlasting. And all sorrow and mourning shall flee away, forever. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the
Great, great, great. Can you hear me now? Okay. I have a question for you. I always like to engage the singer when I do master classes. I always say this about master classes. I am no master necessarily, but I consider myself a student of singing. And I really believe that we should be thinking singers when we get on stage. Everything happens because we want it to happen. We make it to happen. It's not a it's not a stroke of luck that something goes well. We have to set ourselves up for success. So, especially in this piece, I've sung Messiah before. Excuse me, Elijah. I've sung Elijah before, and I've sung this piece. Um, I consider the person that's singing is somewhat of a not a town crier, but someone who's a disciple, someone who is really bringing forth good news, someone who is excited about, then shall the righteous shine forth. You know, there's a certain excitement that I think you can infuse this piece with. Also, from the minute you walk in, I know you've heard this before. It's nothing new. The minute you walk in, I feel like you should be on stage, and I think the confidence that you even announce the piece with. And you say your name, you say, I would like to say, then shall the righteous shine forth. There should be an energy that you start with that you carry over into your singing. Okay. Does that make sense? So the question, what I was saying before about, we should be thinking singers, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that the piece went for you?
I've done better.
Okay. That's it. Okay. How long have you had this piece?
Um, Let's say a year and a half to two
Okay, a
years.
year and a half. Okay, so for having this piece a year and a half, do you think that you display your confidence in knowing the piece as well as possible?
No.
Let me ask you this question. Was there a sense of nervousness that was there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, nervousness is normal. It happens to all of us. But if you can find a way to channel your nervousness to use it to infuse what you're singing about. And a lot of times that can be done by just simply focusing on the words. If you have this idea of a disciple saying something that the people, even if you want to think of a town square, the people need to hear this, that you have something valuable. You need to lift them up and bring them to a place of belief because of hardship has happened or whatever, and you are bringing the good news to the people. That's what this, I think, should be about. So let's start again, and there's a few things that I would like to talk about technically. Uh, Master classes are really hard to really delve deeply into technical things, but I think there are some fundamental things that could help you that can make this a lot easier for you. What we need to do in singing, I always feel, is that we need to make things as easy for us as possible, not as difficult. Okay? Okay. Would you mind just coming back in with an energy just like you're going into somebody's house and telling them that you won the lottery? You just hit the Powerball. And how many things does that solve that you hit the Powerball? Maybe you decide, okay, I'm not going to college anymore. I'm not pursuing a career because I'm going to live off the returns of it. But the excitement that you would probably feel, or even if you're a fan of sports. Okay, you're not a fan of sports. Uh, with the Powerball analogy, does that work? Even if you don't play the lottery, because I don't play it either. But if somebody gave you a check for $5 million right now, would you be fairly excited? Okay. So the excitement that you would feel with the fact that were just given a check of $5 million, no strings attached. That's the excitement. I want you to come, say your name, and be prepared to start this piece. And your energy is what makes your accompanist, your collaborator, play. It's you. It's going. That is your inner dialogue, what she's playing behind you. Okay. So try. Let's start it this way. Even from the arrival, walk into the screen if you would for me, and then start again announcing your name, and then prepare to deliver the good news to the people.
I am Howard Evans. I will be singing Then Shall the Righteous Shine Forth from Felix Mendelssohn's Elijah.
That's better, but you can do better. We'll work on that. We'll work on it. We'll work on that. I think you can do better. Okay? Start again. No. Just the singing part.
Oh,
We'll continue to work on that. Okay. Ready?
Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in our heavenly Father's room.
Okay, much better. Much better energy underneath you, much more support, less timid, less nervousness. I understand with master classes, sometimes you have to get it out the first time. You just gotta get it out and then you're ready to go. Okay, now let's think about this. Then shall the righteous. Do you know anybody named Shawn?
no.
Sean. You don't know any Seans? Okay, no Seans. Deshaun, Vashawn, LaShawn.
Sean.
Okay, Nushawn, whatever, Hushawn, anything. Just for me now, because you're going shine, yeah, shine. I want you, it's like you're saying Sean and fit the shine forth. Then shall the righteous shine forth. So not shine, like you're saying shine forth. Okay, just start with that. Okay.
Then shall the righteous shine forth as
Much better already. Does that feel any better to you? Shine. We need to make sure that we don't shut down our voices. Shine forth as the sun, and the same thing with sun in the heavenly Father's realm. All open. We want to make sure that you're free of tension and that your voice can be out here instead of inside. Does that make sense? Start again. And make sure when you start, then shall the righteous, even do this for me, then breathe real fast. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. As open and free and unencumbered as you can be with all of those vowels. Be open, okay? I want you to go farther than you need to go just to get the idea. I don't want you to over exaggerate it, but actually right now it's okay to exaggerate it. Then you'll find the happy medium, the balance with your teacher. But you understand, instead of shine, it's so much easier to get your voice out, okay? Start again, please. Right from the beginning, then, please.
Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in our heavenly Father's realm.
Okay, now, so what we have to do, so what happened there? You kind of like, your breath wasn't like you normally have it?
I was doing more and I ran out sooner.
Okay, the thing is, when you take breaths, I tell people breaths are free. And what you need to do, and what I always do, is I try to practice, even when I'm taking a short breath, a quick breath, to make sure the capacity of air that I take in is as much as I need. And I know some people say that, sometimes they feel like they're full of air and they don't know what to do with it. What you need to do is teach your body how to use this air that you have, that you never feel like some people may call it stacking. I don't know if you've ever heard that, where you feel like you just have so much air. You're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with it? Rather than learning how to take in this air and immediately engage and use this air, that even if you get to the end of the phrase, you release it rather than feeling like it's too much for you to deal with. So I always say we lean on our breath in a very light way. We lean on our breath until we don't have any more, and then we release rather than like it's just falls because it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm singing in the wrong key. Then, is that it? Then shall the righteous shine forth, breathe, in as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. Release, breathe. shine forth as the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. So what I want you to do is to make sure you connect all of it and that it all kind of belongs together instead of then shall the righteous shine forth. Okay, do you understand what I'm doing as far as trying to connect it and trying to sing legato, connecting all the words together so they're not just single words, not a collection of single words. We don't want that, right? Okay, try it again. Stop. Okay, stop. So what I'm seeing, and I think something that will help you, if you will play the entrance, the intro again, please. You're waiting to right now and to breathe, and that's too late. So, now breathe. Then think of it, as my teacher says, it's like a conveyor belt in the airport. This conveyor belt is already going. Your breath needs to already be going. Then you stumble upon it. Okay? Bum, now breathe. And then. And make it a machine that just functions well, like a well-oiled machine. Okay? Rather than bum. Oh gosh. Then take your time because breath is free. You have the time. Okay? And you set yourself up then. Even though you're going to take a breath after the first one, you want to feel that same fullness of breath after that because you're getting ready to make a phrase, okay? Want to try it again, please? Breathe.
Then shall the righteous shine forth.
Shine. Yeah, shine. Do you feel yourself going, shine forth? I want you to feel like, ha, shine forth. Just do that for me. Shine forth.
Shine forth.
Okay. Shine. Yeah, instead of shine. Yes, okay. Okay, let's start it again. Yes.
Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun.
Keep going.
In our heavenly Father's realm.
Breathe.
Shine forth as the sun in our heavenly Father's realm.
The breath.
Then shall the righteous shine forth in our heavenly Father's realm.
Breathe.
As the sun in our
Okay, that note right there, that note, as the sun, you have to make sure before you get there, you're already prepared for that note. That is not an accident. You already know where you're going, right? So as the sun in the heavy. So feel like that high note, feel like your high notes are not an arrival point, but you go through them to get to where you want to go. Does that, you know what I mean? Does it make sense what I mean? Some people, as the sun, and everything after, but let that high note energize what comes afterwards. As the sun in the heavenly Father's realm, until you release at the end, rather than it just kind of collapse. Okay. Just go from as the sun.
As the sun.
No. Do you feel like you were as the sun? It feels like it's trapped. As the sun, like a saw that you like with wood, sawing something as the sun in the heaven. What I'm trying, it may not end up being that vowel, but it needs to be open and free, that your voice is not trapped. So you can, if I turn away from you and look at you, I can even hear the tension or the fact that it's kind of trapped, it's sat on, rather than as the sun. My teacher says our voices should be blooming. We want to make sure, feel the bloom on those notes, okay? As the sun in the heaven. Okay, one more time from there, please.
As the sun in our heavenly Father's realm.
Now, did that feel better? Because that was better.
Felt better.
I don't know if you feel that. Now, what I want you to do one last time, because I know I need to end up because we don't have all day. As the sun in the heavenly Father's realm. You're not allowed to let down your support until that M of realm. Because what happened? It was good. As the sun, that was one of your best notes. On in the heavenly Father's realm. It just went somewhere. So stay in tune, stay in the center of the pitch, and make sure you support throughout the end of the phrase, okay? Okay, one more time.
As the sun in our heavenly Father's realm.
Does that feel better?
Yes.
It feels like you're beginning to make music and make phrases, which is what we want to do. I always tell people we're not tape recorders that just play back something we've heard or learned. The idea is that we create art because we are artists, and we want to make sure that we are expressive beings when we get in front of people. The excitement and energy we have that I've learned over the years is that when people believe I believe it, they believe it. If it feels real to me, it'll feel real to them. When I'm in recitals or doing other things like that, if it starts here before it goes past the footlights into the audience and other people to hear it, visually, and your excitement level and your desire to phrase and make music goes a long way into reaching people and allowing them to enjoy it as well. So they're telling me that I have to finish, so I appreciate you singing today, and I wish you well. Good luck, but take those things, take them to your teacher, and try to continue to grow with this piece, and then hopefully I'll get another chance to hear it again, okay?
Thank you.
Awesome. Great job.
Wonderful. Thank you, Howard. Up next, we have Michael Wingate. Michael is a junior music education major with a concentration in voice. He is a baritone and aspires to perform and teach full-time after graduation. Michael is also ranked among the top 16 beatboxers in the United States. Welcome, nice. Michael Wingate.
Hi, I'm Michael Wingate, and today I will be singing Delaware from Winterreise by Franz Schubert. Dort versteht ein Leiermann. Und mit starren Fingern dreht was kann. Barfuß auf dem Eise wankt hin und her. Und sein sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer. Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer. Keiner mag ihn hören, keiner sieht ihn an. Die Hunde knurren um den alten Mann. Und lässt es gehen, alles wie es will. Tritt und seine Leier steht ihm nimmer still. Tritt und seine Leier steht ihm nimmer still. Wunderlicher Alter, soll ich mit dir gehen? Willst zu meiner Leid deine Leier drehen?
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask you a question. How long have you had this piece?
Since last semester.
Okay.
So I haven't had, very long because of COVID and everything, but yeah.
Okay. And have you sung in German a fair amount?
No.
Okay. It's just a question. I'm just trying to gauge your comfort level with German. And Winterreise, the piece, I've never had a chance to do it, but I've done the song cycle Dichterliebe by Schumann. And the world of German lieder, oh my gosh, it is one of these, it is so difficult. The songs seem so, I don't want to say easy because easy isn't fair, but the songs don't seem that challenging. But the fact that they are, well, in actuality, they're extremely challenging because the text is so important to the delivery of this piece. If you think about the range in which you're singing, many of the notes, they don't depart from da 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 da. That's not a real wide range of notes, right? So that it is really important to make sure that the text is absolutely delivered in a way that communicates the message. So I will ask you, as I asked the other gentleman before you, how do you feel like it went for you?
Felt like it went fairly okay.
Okay. And so, when I ask this question, it's not a trick question, but it's a question to gauge the singer's idea of how they did, how comfortable they felt. A lot of times, as I said before, in master classes, sometimes the nervousness, or not even nervousness, doesn't necessarily mean fear, but just the idea that you're performing something, and usually from the time you start it till you finish, there's usually no breaks in between. It's just like something that's out there, and so there is a certain level of excitement or maybe nervousness or energy that comes, that, again, as I told the other gentleman, that we have to infuse our singing. You have to use that to infuse our singing. So one of the things I think is very crucial for this piece is to make sure that in German, and this is the reason why I asked the question before, in German, a lot of us, especially not being native German speakers, we feel that German is an extremely percussive language, but it is a beautiful legato language. It really is. And so, what I want you to do is, I want you to start the piece, and I don't want you to sing any consonants. I only want you to sing vowels. Okay. And so, if you're singing just vowels, you should never be stopping your sound from the time you start a phrase to the time you end it. Okay. Is that capable?
Sure.
Are you capable of doing that? Is it possible?
Yeah, I think so. I'll
Have you heard anybody say this to you before?
No. No.
Okay, let's just start it again. Ba-dee-da-da-da-da-da, whatever. Okay, now what I want you to do, I want you do it like this. What is your best vowel? Do you know what it is? Let's just try ah. Let's just say it's ah. For today, it's ah. It'll be ah. Tomorrow, it'll be e. But just for today, it's ah. I want you to sing the vocal line. Only thing you're singing is ah, and I don't want you to change the position of that ah at all. Okay, because what I'm saying right now is I want you to go only on ah, not changing your position at all. Singing the notes, but singing in that place, okay? Okay, now do this for me because I want you to, like I told the other gentleman as well. I want you to, if you see a baby that's really cute, we say "aw." That's what I want the vowel to be. I want "aw," or a dog's paw. That's what like, or Little House on the Prairie paw. I want that "aw," and try to maintain the position of that vowel the whole time. Okay. Even when you're changing registers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A consistent vowel throughout. And before you start, make sure your breath needs to tell your collaborator or pianist that you're ready. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now listen. Would you play the vocal line for me, please? Okay. I'm probably gonna mess it up, but I want instead of a continuous sound that doesn't stop. Okay, instead of that's what I want. Okay, one more time. Better. Do you feel how that it seems to be a lot more legato and a lot more smooth and a lot more connected? Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get is connection, okay? Now, the sensation that you have right now, what you just accomplished, you have to sing the text in that same manner, connected, okay? And make sure you remember, because I've gotten it now. Like I said, I've never done this piece before. She plays this bra-dum, bra-dum. She does it twice before you come in. And so don't be surprised by the fact that it's time for you to come in. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yeah. Make sure you're ready. And again, this is what she's playing is your inner dialogue. If you know that what's happening in your chest, in your head, your mind, is creating that at the keyboard, you'll never be late. It'll never be a surprise. It'll never be an accident that you're stopping. Does that make sense what I mean? What I'm saying? Okay. So make sure you memorize your when it's time for you to come in so you're never caught by surprise. Okay? One more time, please.
Want me to sing actual word, or you want to sing the?
I want you to sing the actual words now in the same manner which we did. You know that you have to sing legato connected. So those need to be at the forefront of what's happening. Okay? Breathe. Okay, can you tell how that was different than what you did as far as like the connected?
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes it's muscle memory. Sometimes it's between our ears that we're like, we have it so learned a certain way that breaking from that is really, really hard. But I want you. You ever heard of this idea that when people do musical theater auditions, they have like 16 bars or they have 8 bars to either be hired or get called back to the next round or anything like that?
I've never heard of that. No.
Yeah, they'll say like with musical theaters, that's one of the things I did. I used to like be a singer dancer in my younger days, many years ago. But you would come into an audition, and before you even sang, they would look you up and down and say, yes, okay, this is a character, leading man, leading woman, old man. They would look you up and down, and you would get about 8 or 16 bars of singing before they would decide whether or not they wanted to have you to the round 2 or the callbacks or what have you. What I want you to do is sing this first phrase as if this is the only thing you have to sing, and you're trying to earn the right to sing the second phrase. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Breathe. Keep going. Keep working on that.
Und mit starren Fingern dreht was kann. Barfuß auf dem Eise fängt ihn. Okay, now let me ask you, Bambi, that's the highest note you've sung thus far, right? What note is that for you? Body. So the G. Oh, C. Sorry. Okay, so that's the highest note you've sung thus far is a C, right? So that shouldn't mean, it shouldn't sound as if that's a surprise for you. Right. Okay? So the way you do that is to make sure before you breathe, you prepare for that note. And what is the vowel of that? B. What's the vowel? What word is that?
Ooh, barfuß.
Okay. Now, I'm glad that it's interesting because that's a U. And what we have to do, one of the things that my teacher says to me is that we have to sing the best vowel for us in a certain position sometimes. Because a lot of times, ba-fu, that's a really closed down vowel. And that can cause us to kind of ba-fu it can make us feel like that note is trapped. Right. So what we have to do is modify, as she says, modify the vowel that makes sure you don't get shut down. So I would say ba, even if it's a O, ba, fo, di, da, da. And then what we do is we try to dial it back as much as we can, that we can get the oo-ness of it without it being too oo and it being trapped inside. We find that right vowel that it sounds like an oo out here, but if it's O inside and oo just around the lips, ba, fo, da, da, it still sounds oo. It can. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Try that. Okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go bar four and hold that note. I want it to be a O. Bar four. That's what I want.
Okay. Ba-fo.
See how it's easy to get out now?
Right.
So in the context of what you have to sing, let it be that instead of ba fu ba fo da, and you let it vibrate it. You let it vibrate. You supported that note in a way differently than you did the rest of it before. Support everything like you did that note as if you had to have to hold all of them. Okay?
That same phrase again.
Yeah, bar fo. Keep going.
Okay. Okay.
Legato. Yes.
Yes. Wat vos auf dem Eise wankt hin und her. Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer.
See, good. Now the same thing. Und sein kleiner. Is that what you say? Und sein kleiner Teller?
Yeah, und, yeah, yes.
Yeah. So, in your small little plate is what it means, right? Und sein kleiner Teller. Und sein kleiner. Live in the space of that vowel where you, und sein, don't be so quick to get off of it. Und sein kleiner. Because this idea of just singing the ah that I want you to get into your mind is the same freedom that whatever you're singing should have that. And being able to let the sound like live in that space. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. Any vocal line you're singing, that freedom and that connectedness is what you want to have. Yes? Let's sing a couple more phrases, then I have to wrap up because I know we're going to take a couple questions. Okay?
Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer.
Better. Keep going. Good breath.
Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer.
Good. Last thing I'll say. This is the last thing I'll say. But when you und sein kleiner Teller, make sure that note gets a chance to really be free and vibrate. So before it gets there, that note has to be thought of, not individually, but the whole phrase needs to be thought of before you start it. It happens in the breath. Und sein kleiner Teller, because we never want to feel like we get to the ceiling. Do you understand what I mean by that? Und sein kleiner Teller. We want to make sure that we have space above that. Und sein kleiner Teller. Okay, one more time. Und sein kleiner, yeah.
Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt.
Not Teller. One more time.
Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer.
Do you see? Do you see how easy it is if you just kind of like prepare before? Last thing I'll say, when you breathe, what I see you doing, I'll see you do. I don't know if you can see me. It seems like right when you breathe, you tense up your whole body.
A little bit. Yeah.
Feel like when you breathe that you breathe just to release. You want to release it out the way you took it in, and not get the tension and hold it.
Yeah.
You should be working here in your support. Frontal, lower, abdominal support. But not your shoulders and your hands and everything else. Und sein kleiner Teller, and we don't finish our support until we finish the last note. We release it. Okay? Last time. Und sein kleiner.
Und sein kleiner Teller bleibt ihm immer leer.
I want this whole piece to be as free and easy as that phrase was. Okay?
Yeah.
Take it to your teacher, work on it. Great job. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to the pianist. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I think this is the time that we open up for Q&A questions. So first, thank you, Mr. Brownlee, for taking out the time to work with our students. It has been a privilege and looking forward to many more opportunities like this. Um, I have a question for you to start off. What has been playing in my car lately has been spiritual sketches. Every time I turn the car on, that's the first thing that comes on. So, but listening to the detail of every single note that you sing is just right on, it's in the pocket. Some of the things that you talked about today. Can you kind of tell us, maybe for the younger students who are just starting and working, a little bit about your process of learning notes or working on your music? Where do you start?
Well, now at this point, it all kind of like flows together. But the process I do anytime I'm picking up a new piece of music, um, I understand now that I've been in the career for 20 plus years singing professionally, and my technique I feel is somewhat automatic, if you want to say that. And as a younger student, I didn't have that because I was working things out, and so I always tell young people, well, my process is I'll finish that first. I already understand that, even if there are problem pieces in it from a technical standpoint, I always try to make sure that I go and listen to the piece first. Now, I don't learn the piece by listening to it. I don't do that. And I'm sure you've taught them that and they've heard it before. You never learn music by hearing it. But what listening to music will allow you to do is familiarize yourself with some of the performance traditions, the tempos, some of the expectations that you really can kind of like circumvent the learning process. You can shorten it because you're familiar with it. So familiarize yourself with it, never learning it there. Then, if you have the ability, then take it into the practice room and make sure that the half notes are half notes, the whole notes are whole notes, the 18th notes, to make sure you have that. If you don't have that ability, go to a pianist and make sure that they are absolutely spot on and dead on to make sure that the values of notes are there and they're correct. Then, as I said to one of the gentlemen before, I said it's never about repeating notes that you've learned, but again, trying to be an artist. And you said something before about this having everything lined up in the pocket. That's where it goes to taking it to your teacher, to making sure that you're from top to bottom, you're in line. And the most important thing is try, before you're trying to make it beautiful or trying to create art, to make sure that you have it lined up. Because what people will often do is that they'll go and start putting all kinds of sauce on it and trying to do everything else. And then they have major problems, glaring problems in the technical setup of what they're singing. Make sure that it's technically sound first. And then when you have that raw thing that is pure, or it is, it's lined up, then that's when you can begin to express and create art, because we are artists and we create art. But the most important thing is I want to make sure that I am dead on as far as like the note values and the rhythms and everything else. And then I'm also technically lined up from top to bottom. And then I take a piece and try to see if I can create music to make sure everything is lined up.
Great. And to kind of pick on with that a little bit more. So when you think about your journey from where you started and to now, and if you could tell your younger self starting off a piece of advice, what would you tell yourself and for our students here today?
Uh, I think I was a very good student when I was in taking voice, but I could even I would tell myself to take it in more and to make sure that I work harder than I did. And I think I did work hard. And I had a friend who told me a long time ago, he said, I would always see you going to the library and to listen to people and listen in the listening lab and doing all these things and stuff. And I remember doing that. But I did do some, I was involved in activities and stuff like that. I probably could have done less of that and done more listening that would have helped me. But, probably spending more time with coaches and making sure that from a musical standpoint that I was really trying to create art. So what would I tell my younger self? Be an even better student. Take it even more seriously. Do the work now so you don't have to do the work later. And that is the same thing with languages, stage deportment, musicality, all these things. Do the work now, because it is not possible for you to be too prepared. Being too prepared doesn't exist. I mean, we all know when we come to a situation, to studio class or recital or performance, when you step on that stage and you can have a certain level of confidence, it's way easier than you standing up there and trying to remember the words. It's so much easier. So make sure that you are worth that extra time you put into yourself and your craft. And especially now with COVID, a lot of people are in this place of flux and they're like, what's the next step? Some people are graduating. Am I going to audition for grad schools, or am I going to do this? What's the next thing that happens? Now is the time where we have to kind of be still to really take stock and say, okay, these are all the things I can control right now. And I want to make sure that when COVID relaxes, or we kind of get a grip on whatever that's going to be, that I will be able to hit the ground running, because I haven't wasted this time now that I have to work on things, working on myself, on my craft, that I can hit the ground running and be better for it.
I think I may have one more question for you, and I think Veronica is going to join us back. Speaking of COVID, what have you been doing with your time lately? What have you been working on?
Well, I've been doing a number of things, actually. As you know, I'm working at Opera Philadelphia. I serve as an artistic advisor, and I've been working on projects with that. I've been working on a few other virtual concerts. I've been doing many talks and master classes. As Veronica mentioned earlier, I'm very involved in social justice and current events. And so I've been doing some things. I've been moderating discussions. I moderated a book club where we spoke primarily on racism. I have a show called The Sit Down with LB on Sunday evenings, where I've been hosting many of the greats, many of the greats. Last week, I had Simon Estes. I've had Martina Arroyo, George Shirley, Denise Graves, Angel Blue, Pretty Yende, Solomon Howard. I mean, many, 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 many people. This week, I'll have the wonderful Florence Quivar. So I've been fortunate, rather, to speak to these people, but I've been talking to them about their lives and their careers. But this has been meant to be a resource for young singers to be able to get information, to kind of get an idea of the people who've gone on and sung with all the greats like Pavarotti and Bernstein and von Karajan and all these wonderful people that we say, oh my gosh, what a dream it would be to sing with them. These people actually did do that. And so just trying to put out content to be helpful to people. I truly believe in trying to pay it forward and trying to be, a resource, or someone, a mentor, in a sense, for people. And so that's very important to me. I learned that a long time ago. And some of the things that my family, my friends, even some of, the guys from my fraternity, we all talk about giving back. We talk about mentorship. We talk about trying to be a resource for people. So that's what I've been doing. I've been staying busy, and, it's part of my personality that I don't sit down, because I think you have enough time to kind of not be busy doing things when you're unable to, or you're no longer here. So
Certainly appreciate
Wonderful.
that.
We actually have one more question. Chat. Mr. Brownlee, you stated that one, you should never learn a piece of music by listening to it. Could you explain a little bit more why?
Well, the reason why you shouldn't learn a piece by listening to it, for example, and probably myself and other people are guilty of it. We'll listen to a piece by Pavarotti. And Pavarotti was known to not be the greatest musician in ways. He learned rhythms and words wrong. And if people are familiar with these recordings where he made mistakes and they hear you make the exact same identical mistakes, people will say, oh, you listen to that Pavarotti recording, right? Because actually what it says, that note that he holds for 3 beats is actually 1. And what happens, that rhythm that's wrong right after that, and the 2 rhythms that happened that he did wrong, you're doing them identical. Because people can say to you after you sung a piece, and they'll say, did you listen to that Pavarotti recording? And you have to say yes if you're being honest, because you're copying what you heard. Music should not be copied. The best you that you can be is what people want to hear. not a copy of Pavarotti, not a copy of someone else who's done the piece. And perhaps, you know, we're not supposed to recompose or decompose pieces. We have some artistic license in how we express them, but we want to make sure that we do our work to learn them the way they should be properly. And don't be offended if someone tells you that it's the wrong note or wrong rhythm. Because if you're on the path to learning it correctly, you'll be happy, because once you get on stage, you know the confidence that you have knowing that you have the piece learned will carry you a long way. So that's what I mean by not learning using the music, a CD or an LP. Some of you aren't old enough to know what a LP is. I do, and I am old enough. But even CDs, some of you are like MP3 babies. But that's what I mean. And so make sure you do the work with the coach or by yourself to really learn how a piece should go.
Thank you very much for that. I used to tell my students all the time, we already have that person. We want your interpretation.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. Today has been absolutely amazing. I want to say on behalf of Delaware State and Opera Philadelphia, a big thank you to Lawrence Brownlee, Ms. Veronica Chapman-Smith, to our two students, Michael and Howard, our wonderful accompanist, Ms. Sarah Gober, and to everybody who made this possible, and even to our viewers who are watching and had questions for us. We want to thank you. It's been a great day. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.